Welcome to the Chronically Will podcast, where we hold real conversations with community that need to be heard. On today's episode, I have the honor to speak with Braylynn. Braylynn is someone who I've reached out to in the community because myself, like being an artist, and not just an artist in the aspect of like visual arts, like media in general. I've done production, engineering, all those things over the years. Just like viewing your Instagram brought so much soul and spirit into the space. And I said, I need this energy because not only is she a person living with type 1 diabetes like myself, but she's like local, like my neighbor. Like, and I could like truly feel that. And I come from an era of Sade, Anita Baker, rising up to Jill Scott, Erykah Badu, and all of those things. And I could just feel your energy, Bray. Like, I can truly feel the light that needs to be shined. And this is the platform that I give to you. Bray, can you introduce the people to who you are?
Yes, well, one, thank you for the introduction. Thank you for inviting me to speak today. My name is Braylynn. I go by Bray, Braylynn, either or. I'm a Philly-based type 1 diabetic. I'm a massage therapist, been licensed and practicing for 5 or 6 years now. I'm also a singer/musician, something I do on my own time, whether it's for therapy or for the performative aspect. And I believe in living a balanced lifestyle, as someone who does deal with type 1 diabetes. I think it's important to acknowledge and embrace all sides of yourself so that you can live the healthiest and most authentic life. So you'll find me in nature a lot, on the trail, on my little runs. You might find me out, on a dance floor and with some friends having a drink or two. And I'm excited to share my journey, my experiences with you and with the audience today. So thank you.
Thank you. Again, thank you, Bray, for joining me. You just said I did not know you were a massage therapist, but like I said, like in the intro to you and me feeling like the vibe of your spirit and everything, like it all goes hand in hand. Like the hands, the hands to heal.
The hands,
yes,
the healing.
yes. It's all from the inner workings of our spirits. We got the ancestors behind us that's helping us push and thrive to be our best at all times. And
absolutely. Oh yeah. There's community within, always and outward. So it's nice to be there. It's nice to be able to provide that space for healing for other people, as well as acknowledge that for myself, taking care of our bodies and our mind together simultaneously is very, very important for me. I'm very passionate about the care for the self.
so, Bray, I'm not sure if you recall how I was introduced to you. I know a lot goes on, so I'm going to give a briefing. So about close to a year ago, I had a Philadelphia region meetup. And I reached out to I just searched through like all social media platforms, mainly Instagram, looking for people that were Philly based, living with type 1 diabetes. And I came across your profile, and everyone's like, how do you find these people and build these communities? It's something that I've always been able to do, like even beyond Instagram. Like I have communities like 10 plus thousand, like people of color living with diabetes. And so when we had that meetup, like I was trying to reach out to you, but I know you were doing something at that time. You were handling business. And maybe about a month or so went by, and like I would continue posting stuff in the Philly region diabetes T1D group, and I saw something come across your profile, like you were singing, and I did not know you were a singer, and I heard this sultry voice that reminded me of like Anita Baker, Sade, and
Oh, that's flattery. Thank you.
I said amazing, amazing, and I shared it to the group because I just had to, because
Oh, I appreciate that.
one thing about me, I'm going to always share, promote, lift,
Mhm.
encourage our, like, my people. Seriously, like, I love us.
So important. And I'm so glad that you do. I'm so glad that you found me. I actually had no idea about that. I just remember you reaching out. I'm like, oh, okay, we got another diabetic. And it's a brother, like, cool. And here you are building this amazing community locally. I'm like, I can't wait to link up with y'all and have that moment to connect about something that not many experience in my life. So yeah, thank you for reaching out and thank you for doing the work and getting all of us together and connected in this way because it can be a journey of solitude if you're not prepared, if you're not supported. So thank you for doing that work, you know.
You're welcome.
Yes. Yeah.
It truly can be a journey of solitude. And I've had 70 plus conversations over this platform that I've
Mm-hmm.
recorded. And I mean, people talk about like others not understanding it, but that's the first time I've heard it broken down like that journey of solitude.
Mm-hmm.
This lived experience is a journey. And for the most part, we are alone in it.
Oh yeah.
Like I may be able to have this conversation with you like via social media or via this like online experience through this Zoom call. But for
Mm-hmm.
the most part, 24 hours, 365 nonstop, it's us dealing with this alone.
Oh yeah.
And it's a journey that we didn't choose to embark on.
Didn't have a choice, did not have a say. but we take it day by day, day by day. It's a new experience. And yeah, it can be quite a lonely one. Even if you are supported by the best system, um, that it can really only go to an extent, you know, that understanding and a level of empathizing. Because at the end of the day, it's really you dealing with this and making the every hour decisions to keep yourself alive and thriving and yeah, it can be tricky. It can be a tricky thing to deal with. So yeah, journey of solitude. So when you get to find someone who's also on their similar journey, um, it's such a beautiful thing, you know. I love seeing another diabetic in the wild, you know. When you get in coffee and you see somebody with a Dexcom, you're like, hey, like you also, I recognize you. I see you. Like here we are, you know. Like I don't know you, but I know you, and I know what you're going through, and I know what you have to do with, and I'm so proud of you, you know. So it's and in some ways it can be very very beautiful when you do find those people who align with you so strongly with this. So yeah, it's so nice to have this conversation.
And I'm glad that you said that, like once you find those people, because that's like compared to even us like growing up as youth, for the most part, we don't know what our destiny will be. Like what we want,
Mm-hmm.
what we don't even for the most part have an idea of like what our end result looks like. We
Mm-hmm.
have so many dreams, so many goals, so many things that just pop up and dismantle all of that and disrupt it. And then like to throw in a chronic health condition on top of that, this journey of solitude where before maybe 2020, I never saw people that looked like me that had type 1 diabetes. I never did.
And
And
never.
while we were on that, facing that solitude with the onset of the pandemic, we were actually able to come together a bit and help each other in ways that were once like unimaginable. Like I'm able to reach out and talk to you and talk to thousands of other people via any social media platform. And like I said, like I didn't think that, I mean, it wasn't that I didn't know anyone else with type 1 diabetes. I didn't think there was like people of color with it because I didn't see us.
Honestly, honestly. And that's that's the big thing for me because I also feel the same way. You know, before I noticed that there was a forced change of narrative with this, I did not see people who look like me who experienced this life, you know. Um, I honestly thought that I was the anomaly. You know, I am the exception. You know, me and my older sister, we are the only ones in our entire family who has type 1 diabetes. And I just never knew that that was a thing. I never knew that was an occurrence. I never knew that this was a common thing that can happen with anyone, let alone Black people. I just never saw it until there was a shift and I noticed people started really enforcing this change in narrative. Like, yeah, representation is here now, and this is what we look like, and this is what we do with, you know. But that was quite a trip experiencing that uh, alone as well. You know, you're already dealing with this chronic disease. It's thrown at you out of nowhere. Life is already tough enough, and then you deal with the aspect of being a Black person going through this, and it's like, is nobody else experiencing this? Am I really the only one? So yeah, when I started connecting with more people like you online, I was like, wow, there's a lot of us out here, you know. There's a lot of us, but it took a lot of work for us to find each other and for us to put ourselves more on the map and to really shift that story that a lot of people might have about diabetics,
Right. Let's
especially people of color.
I want to talk more about that, how it took for us to find one another. And like it was a search, like we're looking for like the national treasure or whatever. Because I've talked about it across this platform, and I've talked about it to medical professionals that I've worked with, that I've just had conversations with about upon diagnosis. Why aren't there resources for us like within the community? Because this is a traumatic experience. And in this day and age, we know today, like our parents before us lived through a cycle of trauma where it wasn't pushed to the forefront, where a lot of those things were hidden and still are hidden today. But we are growing and developing at a time where we know that the emotional stressors and mental health are equal to the physical health. You can't have one and grow with one without the other. So
Absolutely.
I always ask, like, why aren't we gifted the opportunity when we were given this diagnosis to have just
Mhm.
those specialists, that community that can come and cover us and help us in this healing journey, because we don't know like why we have this. We don't know if there's others who have this. Like, why does it have to take 5,
Mhm.
10, 15, 20 years for this conversation?
You're asking the right questions, and I think we all know what the answers are. You know, why there's a lack of access of resources and encouragement of taking care of ourselves, body and mind, in this community, and why there's such a disparity between people of color and non-people of color when we do actually have the means to reach out and seek professional care. Um, why it's not easily given to us, and why we have to fight extra hard to receive the bare minimum. You know, I really, I really want to pinpoint what you said. You mentioned a cycle of trauma that the previous generation had to go through, because it wasn't just um, discouraged for them to take care of themselves. They just simply didn't know that you're supposed to take care of the mind, that you are supposed to take care of your body in certain ways. They just simply did not know. And we had to find out through trial and error that it is necessary for us to do that. But we're making that change on our end. The medical field and professional fields are still lagging. I do feel like the um, the course that a lot of professionals go through is very textbook driven. So these people are in school for 10+ years, and they're learning everything about the body, but they're not learning too much about the human experience, which can be very nuanced depending on the person, especially what race they are, the community that they come from, the gender, the class. And when they speak to you about diabetes in general, it sounds like they're just reading from a script, like, oh, you're just reading from chapter 6 here. You're not actually connecting with me as an individual, a human, and trying to learn me and my body and what I need. You're kind of getting this from a pre-written script that was written for someone else that is not me. And it's been a lot being your own advocate and learning the things that I feel like I should have been taught, or I should have been able to rely on professionals to handle. But now I have to take it upon myself just so I can receive the basic level of care because of who I am, what I look like, where I come from.
Like, I try to understand them because I work in public health,
Yeah,
and I don't think it's a true lack of like empath. I think it's more so just a lack of being personal, because it's not something that they're trained in. They're trained, like you
absolutely.
said, in a textbook, like 1 + 1 = 2.
Hmm.
Di- Diabetes plus whatever else equals this,
Yeah.
instead of knowing the nuances that diabetes plus lack of education, diabetes plus background of trauma, diabetes plus your lived experience, the communities that you come from, the relationships that you're in or that you have lost or whatnot. They don't take into consideration all of those things and those aspects, diabetes, and just me being in my own skin, my flesh, my background. They don't take into those considerations, and it has to, because diabetes
Mhm.
is more than just insulin. It's more than just this autoimmune chronic health condition we live with. Because when we consider chronic health, that means that it's lingering and ongoing. there is no pause to it. So
Yeah.
we can insert all these pockets of information into this envelope and overfill it. And still, because it's not in a textbook, they're going to, like, the medical professionals will be lacking the ability to just have the conversations with us.
100%. 100%. Yeah, it's the information that they have access to is a bit outdated. And I find myself in a position where I'm informing them of the experience and what they can use and what can be beneficial for them to learn to help people who might look like me or have experienced similar situations that I have. Because as you said, there's so much more to diabetes than to take insulin and hydrate. You know, there's so many different factors that goes into this that you have to be mindful and aware of every single day,
Mhm.
every single day. And a lot of it can be contributed to where you come from, you know, what sort of foods do you have access to? What sort of neighborhood do you have access to? What sort of water do you have access to? Because a lot of people may not even um, consider that clean, nutritious water is, you know, a thing. They just kind of see it as a given. Whereas for some people, that might be a luxury. Having access to healthy greens might be a luxury for people. You know, having access to a gym or a track field to do a light jog can be a luxury for some people, depending on where you are, where you come from, how you were conditioned to take care of yourself. Um, and then there's so much other factors too, like stress. You know, how are you managing your stress levels? How do you fare with the change of weather? Because the weather can change your numbers. How well are you sleeping? When are you sleeping? You know, how often do you work out? At what rate of intensity do you work out? You know, there's so many different factors that goes into it besides insulin and working out. So
Yeah,
it's 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 very interesting when I'm adding information like, hey, you can also know a thing or two about this. Let me teach you. You know, you have 10 plus years reading books, and I have 10 plus years experiencing this actual thing you've been reading about. So let's teach each other. You know.
right. We know that as far as like education, like it's a never ending process, and it
Mm-hmm.
should be. And if we are gifted information, I know like when I learn something, I share it with community. And if it's something like health related, why wouldn't I share it to the medical team that does
Right.
um, try and provide the care for me? Because
Mm-hmm.
if there may be another person from the community that comes to that same endocrinologist office or even my general practitioner office that does not have the ability to access the things that I have the ability to access.
Mm-hmm.
As like things such as community resources, like I can find and locate community resources that will supply insulin where you can get continuous glucose monitors at minimum to no cost and things like that. But other people don't. And the stress of
Mm-hmm.
struggling to find these resources where where there should just be like a envelope of information, a one pager that tells people upon diagnosis, if you ever are struggling to access insulin, this is what you can do. And it shouldn't be a lingering like call this number and you're on hold with customer service for
Mm-hmm.
half an hour, 45 minutes, because that's stress in general also.
100%.
So how do we remedy this and uh make it easier for people that live with chronic health conditions, because just living with this is a burden. I don't know, but any information and any resources that we have, we can share. And because if it betters us, then it's guaranteed to help better the lives of other people living with this chronic health condition. Now, Bray,
Absolutely.
I do want to make a brief shift. You mentioned something in passing, like it was just like my older sister has type 1 also.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I come from a huge family. Um, I have 7 siblings. Um, and it is my oldest sister. She's about 5 or 6 years older than me. She was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And I believe she was diagnosed around 23, 24. And I remember being around 17 and hearing the news and not knowing anything about it, of course. And I remember my first question being something like, "Oh, did she eat too many chips? Like, what happened?" Like, how did that happen? Um, Considering that no one in my entire family deals with diabetes, either type 1 or 2. Um, and here she is at such a young age and quite fit and active. So yeah, it was funny. I'm coming from my very limited mindset of of diabetes and what I know about it. I think so many of us are only taught about type 2 and the results of that. So when I heard that she had type 1, I just automatically assumed they're like, "Oh, you just had too many chips or something." Mind you, she's an extremely active person, you know. But yeah, she was diagnosed around 23, 24. And just a few years later, I was. And that's a very interesting story, too.
So,
Um,
did your sister notice the signs? Do you see each other like often, and like you and your sister, do you have that close
yeah.
relationship?
We don't see each other that often. She lives in New York and I'm in Philly. But we do keep in touch. I was actually just talking to her a couple of days ago because she's interested in getting Dexcom. Her insurance is finally going to be able to cover it, and she just wanted to know about the information, how helpful it could be. Um, we have conversations here and there about managing our A1Cs and what we can eat and have the jokes and stuff. So yeah, that is a very like strong component that keeps us really connected is having type 1 diabetes and being able to talk about it. So yeah, it's nice when I get to talk to her.
Right.
Um,
Did she notice any of the signs with you?
she did not notice at first. I don't think a lot of people did until I told them. And I don't think she noticed until I told her. At the time of me getting diagnosed, she wasn't around. This was when I was in college, going to community, and she was elsewhere, traveling the world as she does. But I do remember telling her, like, "Oh, I have it." And, and she was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense, given you losing a drastic amount of weight and appearing more tired than usual." Um, so yeah, I think she realized afterwards the signs.
Okay. Yeah, because upon that diagnosis, like because of the high blood sugar, blood glucose levels, like we do have an altered mind. And that's a conversation that isn't often spoken about in the community. So if it's not often spoken about in the community, then people on the outside don't know about it.
Hmm.
So yeah, those high blood sugars during diagnosis, like
Hmm.
many of us are just like wondering like what's going on, and we're trying to figure out so many different remedies to our problem, but at the same time we don't have the mental or physical fortitude or strength to handle it at all. And that's why when we consider insulin only being readily available to some people since 1922, I mean, because it
Mhm.
wasn't for a whole decade plus later where it was readily available for people of color.
Yeah,
That just
yeah,
102 years ago, like that's what people were going through. Those
yeah.
altered
And
minds.
alter minds, alter bodies, and it happened in an instant. And it was a guaranteed death sentence for them. They had no idea what they were dealing with. They had no cure. I forgot the phrase that they used when Bansing, the creator,
Mhm.
and his partner stepped into the room of these dying children and then injecting the first child with insulin and seeing them automatically,
Mhm.
snap out of this like diabetic coma and really see these children come back to life. And we got to give them their flowers, like this is why we're here
Right.
to this day. And for them to patent this and sell it for $1 because they wanted it to be accessible for everyone. What a beautiful concept that got twisted in in such an interesting way, where today people are rationing insulin and we have people today dying because they don't have access to insulin because it costs so much. It
Brays.
is six the sixth most expensive liquid
Liquid.
in the entire world, you know? Shouldn't be the case. It was
It's
sold for a
almost
dollar.
like they're like the time has is being reversed to 19 pre 1922,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
no one should have to ration for insulin. And I say that in the sense
not at
of
this time.
like this is something that's needed to live. And that's something that the general population of the world needs to know. Because when
Mhm.
we say we need insulin to live, many people don't truly understand that it's the equivalent of the blood and oxygen in your body.
Yeah.
Like you need that to live. If you take away the
Mhm.
oxygen, if you take away the blood, there is no existence of us. If you take away insulin, there is no existence of us. We can't, we're not here.
We're not here. Yeah, it's not a luxury. It's not a thing where it's like, oh, I can kind of live without it. It is a necessity. Insulin is a necessity to live for everyone.
For everyone.
The only difference is our bodies no longer produce it. So the fact that we have to pay for something that we had no control over, our bodies don't produce it at all, and it won't again, unless some fun technological advances pull through and they get to approve it. But that's a different story. We don't have it. This pen is the thing that keeps us alive, and people are dying today because they don't have it. The ration is in this time of day, in this age, it just shouldn't be a thing, and it's just so unfortunate. Um, but it's nice that community exists where we get to share this information. We can say, yeah, you can go to this website, you can talk to this center. They might be able to assist you in receiving this. Um, it's sad that sometimes that's all that we have, but it's beautiful that we do have it. We we got each other's backs, and that's everything.
We forever got each other's backs. But there
Yeah.
is a mental strain that is placed upon us because
Hmm.
this is a man-made liquid. Like
Hmm.
the rDNA that's placed together to develop this. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's as low as 80 cents. Seriously. And
Mm-hmm.
for for one vial to, it can exceed $400+ today. And we depend on man to make it.
Yeah.
It's like we're in like a hole, like a chokehold.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me of like thinking about our ancestors and how they were brought here across these lands, and even our ancestors that were already here in these lands, and how things were taken from them. And it was like the only way you can
Mm-hmm.
continue to live or have life is to depend on another human.
Mm-hmm.
And we were forced into that. It's like that's what they're doing today with things such as insulin.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is. It is really wild to be at the mercy of this man-made product. And, it's like, this is something that I need. I am going to need to use this every single day for the rest of my life.
Multiple
And
times.
multiple times. And I got my other one too. This is just a short acting one. Multiple times a day, every single day, for the rest of my life. And the fact that I still need to argue and debate with doctors and endocrinologists and health insurance companies to receive this is so wild.
It's wild because
It's
we can't
it's a
predict.
wild journey.
Like personally, like we can't not only predict the future of insulin, we can't predict the access to insulin. We can't even predict like when we're going to need to inject. We have to look at these numbers and these trends to figure all of that out. So why
Mhm,
can't the burden be lessened to where, since we have to do all of this laborious work, why
mhm.
can't we be gifted just the insulin?
Can you make it a little easier?
Like, can we stop? Can we stop making sense? Like,
Like, listen, the moment it starts making sense to me, then yeah, you can start monitoring how much insulin you think I should have. But it's such an unpredictable thing, and it's yeah, as you said, you never know where it's going to be at,
mhm,
um, and
yeah,
yet it's needed. I'm at the mercy of these numbers, and I'm at the mercy of trying to convince you that these are my numbers and that I needed this amount for this amount of time. And it's a trip. It's such a trip. Um,
and my background as a media literacy educator, I was a media literacy educator for like 10 to 12 years, up until recently when I decided I want to be fully involved in like public health and making sure that people had access to the needed supplies, that communities are built and things like that. But ahead of that, like when I look at the media today and I see like the ads from Dexcom and I see like Eli Lilly ads and different things, and I ask myself, why isn't there any media that shows like, or why doesn't it talk about that we didn't do this to ourselves? Because that's like the first thing that people think of. Like, what did you do? Why do you do that? So that's why everyone else isn't fighting for us to have this insulin, because in their minds, they going off of the preconceived notion because of media's perception of people with diabetes. Just like, I mean, I thought the same thing about people when they got diabetes, like, oh, you ate too much
Absolutely.
candy, too much, like you said, chips or whatnot. But we know that that's not what happened or what occurred. Like there's so many different things that occurred even before our own birth that initiated all of this. Like it dates back
Absolutely.
generations. And for the media to not talk about that, I mean, they're like, oh, this is the Dexcom. You can stop with the finger pricks, and now you get your
Mhm.
readings 24/7 from your mobile device. Where is
Mhm.
that ad that says people living with this chronic health condition, which is autoimmune, meaning nothing they did made it occur?
Mhm.
They need insulin to live. Without insulin, they die. You
Mhm.
like I'm come from that era where they had those billboards and signs and on the media like drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Don't like
The eggs. It's
yeah,
terrible.
yeah, all of those things. Why
Yeah.
why can't they let everyone know instead of if you go across and find a celebrity that lives with type 1 diabetes and they post something like I follow Dame Dash and anytime
Mhm.
he shows like his Dexcom or his insulin pump or whatever, people are always in the comments saying, because you're taking that man-made insulin, if you stop taking that, then you'll be better, live a vegan lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. Dame Dash has been a vegan for like many years. He was diagnosed
Mhm.
type 1 diabetic at 14 years old just because they didn't, like, people don't know that in the media.
People don't know.
And things like so everyone goes to his comments and they post so many things about well if you got on
Wow.
this weight loss regimen, drink more okra or blah blah blah.
The
And
ginger, the
yeah,
cinnamon.
so many things people say, and this is on like a regular basis. And he
Mhm.
has a great publicist because he never ever comments or anything.
Oh, good for
He'll
him.
just continue going like he'll show himself like changing his Dexcom and stuff on his Instagram. And
Mhm.
I just always ask, like, as a media literacy professional, like why where are the ads that state that or why aren't the ads ever talking about how
Mhm.
we did not do this to ourselves. Like it's autoimmune, breaking down what autoimmune is, breaking down what
Yep.
chronic health conditions are.
Yep.
Like,
Where where do we see this change in narrative? You know, it would be nice if we get to see it in ads. I do feel like media has a huge play in how we perceive things, like diabetes, for example. You know, like we'll think of a TV show we saw growing up where do think it's important to acknowledge there is a racial component here. So when I do think of certain media of a certain TV show, I might see, a little white girl who's injecting herself with insulin because she's on the swim team and she needs to manage her levels, right? And everyone kind of knows that, oh yeah, this is something that was beyond her control. Um, Insulin is something that she needs to take for the rest of her life. Whereas you might see another part of media where you might see an older black person or older black man, and they have to take pills like, oh, you have
mhm,
diabetes. Oh, it's because you ate too
mhm,
many chips and McDonald's and stuff. And it's that right there, just that very subconscious conditioning that it was one, that these types of diabetes are the same, which are not. Two, that they are within your control. And three, just based off of the skin color, it's something that that person could have prevented, and which is why they're in the state that they're in, versus the little white girl who had zero control over the outcome of her receiving diabetes. So yeah, it's important to acknowledge that there's a racial component here in how we perceive diabetes within the community, within people of color, um, how we perceive diabetes in general. Because I know growing up, I never heard of type 1. I've only heard of type 2, and it was caused by lack of nutrition and poor exercise routines, and that's it. And I'm starting to see this shift in the media, but it's very, very small. It's still very, very new. We're just kind of starting to lay the foundation and the accurate information of what this is and what we deal with. And I do believe that once people start to see this, that subconscious conditioning can really start to occur where it's like, oh, okay, well, this person on TV, this older Black man, for example, has type 1 diabetes. And he received it out of nowhere. It just happened. And he has to take insulin for the rest of his life. And he should receive that for free or for a very small price. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I think it'll be a little bit of time before we really start to see that shift in mindset, but it's possible. But it is important that we start to be proactive about it, which is why I'm so appreciative of you holding and hosting this podcast so that we can start to put out the information that is accurate, that this was a burden that randomly occurred. And for many of us, it occurred at a very young age, and there was nothing we could have done to prevent it. There's nothing that we can do to cure it. We rely and we depend on insulin, and we will for the rest of our lives. It is what keeps us alive. Of course, there are many other things we can do to take care of ourselves and manage it and help, but insulin is a necessity, and we need it. So give it to us.
So living with type 1 diabetes, living with this condition is, like I said previously, life altering.
Absolutely.
How do you stay you, Braylynn? Like, because
Mm.
the fluctuations that are the hormonal changes and challenges that occur living with type 1 diabetes, being a woman with type 1 diabetes, being a woman of color with type 1 diabetes. How do
Yeah.
you remain you?
By accepting, by radical acceptance that this is a part of who I am now, you know, and to not make it my entire life or my entire identity, but to accept that it is here. And it took a long time and it took a lot of work for me to get here. And there are some days where I struggle with it. There's some days I'm just like, oh, we really have to deal with this. Oh, we really have to inject. Oh, we really have to eat something right now because our levels are plummeting. Or, oh, I really have to take insulin right now and have a seat because it's spiking. There are some days where it can become extremely overwhelming. But most days I just accept that it is here. It is a part of my experience. We all have our handful of struggles in this life, and this is one of mine. And the fact that I'm here today after all of this time means that I kind of know what I'm doing a bit, and I can place a bit of trust in myself, and it kind of makes it a bit easier. Like, you survived this long, you can keep on doing it. You've adjusted and improved upon yourself, and you can continue to do so. Even further, um, I was diagnosed when I was 20, 21 is when I received it, and it was as I said, a journey dealing with that,
Diagnosed
adjusting.
diagnosed at 2021 around that time.
Mm.
Braylynn, someone else here was diagnosed at that age. Me.
Really? Oh, wow. I didn't know
I
that.
was actually about a month and a half post my 20th birthday. Yeah. So my birthday's in
Wow.
January, March. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I don't meet a lot of people who was diagnosed around that age, so that's really cool. That's really cool to know.
Well,
Yeah, so you understand the major shift
we
that
remember
you.
who we were before. And
Yeah,
for many years, when I would think about that, it would like I would be like in so much sorrow. It would bring tears to my eyes just thinking about that. How it
yeah,
changed like the trajectory and the path that I was on. Like the things that I was committed to. And now
mhm,
this life altering condition happened and it's irreversible. So that means that I couldn't go back to who I was.
yeah,
And it took a while, many years before I understood and
mm,
was able to say to myself, Will, you have to move forward. You have to get a better understanding of what this is. Because although we don't have the medical professionals that are going to show us and share with us how we can be our most optimal and at our best,
mm,
we have the ability within ourselves because it's it's innate in us as people of color who have not only struggled but conquered. See, we
absolutely.
hear a lot about our struggle, but we don't hear a lot about the things we've conquered, the walls we've climbed over. Being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes is like being given it's more than being given like a infant child. It's like being given an infant and told you got to climb up a 10 like 10-kilometer mountain, holding on to that infant, feeding that infant, taking care of that infant, changing that infant, but you still got to make your way up this mountain.
But
And
you said that
then,
I'm a girl. And that
yes,
baby never gets older. It stays that age
by the time you get up
forever.
to that mountain, like that baby's still crying and
Right.
fussing,
Still
tantrums,
sleeping.
and when you get down, the same things. Like, but you still love this baby. Like we
Yeah.
still love ourselves, even though we've changed a lot. We've been given this infant, and
Hmm.
it has been a great burden. It has been
I
because
love how you put that. A great burden.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I know where I was ahead of
Mm.
diagnosis. Do you remember like where you were, what you were doing? What was your plan?
I do. It's so vivid for me because it was just such a, a major stark contrast to how I was living. So um yeah, I remember one of my very first symptoms was I remember cleaning one day my tiny little place, and afterwards my hands were just tingly, just felt like 1,000 little prickly needles. And I just brushed it off. I was like, oh, maybe that was just a cleaning product I used. I'm gonna wear gloves this time. I'll make sure to do that, next time. And just a few weeks later, here I am experiencing the most extreme thirst I ever had. I am just so thirsty, and I'm just guzzling water. And I used to drink soda a lot, so I would just take back a lot of soda. Here I am peeing every 15 minutes, and I am feeling the most fatigued I've ever felt in my entire life. And all I knew was that there was something off in my body, just something felt off, but I didn't know what it was. But I'm still in college, so I'm still trying to enjoy my life. I've always been into sports. So I've always played sports about, 5, 6 days a week in the gym. But at night, I'm with my friends and I'm out and I'm drinking and I'm dancing, just trying to find a bit of normalcy to combat what I was going through internally. Because I'm like, why do I have to be every 15 minutes? Why am I so tired? I just slept for 11 hours. I am so tired. Why is my brain so foggy? What's going on? And I remember talking to my dad one day, and I'm just sharing this with them. I'm thirsty all the time. I'm tired. And he's not a serious guy at all. And he just looks at me with like the most deadpan face. And he's like, that sounds like diabetes. And I'm like, no, that's like an old people thing. I ain't got
Braylon,
that. I don't care. I'm young.
Braylon, I'm not sure if you've heard my diagnosis story.
Uh,
We have identical stories.
really?
20
Ah,
years old, went to my dad and I told him I cannot stop using the bathroom. I'm so thirsty, so tired, exhausted, and dehydrated.
wow.
And my dad looked at me and said, "You have diabetes."
Wow. It's so wild. That is so wild to experience that. Ah, that's so interesting. I do wonder if you also experienced this part. This is where I feel like my work has really started to take place and activate where I know I needed to become an advocate for myself and for people who look like me.
Mhm.
So I remember going to the doctor's office. I was going there just to get an annual physical. And I was just like, by the way, can you just like run a screening for diabetes? Because I was told I got it. I didn't think I got it, but just run it anyway, just in case. And they run it, and I remember the nurse, she was just like, hey, the doctor want to talk to you, you got diabetes. And she just like shut the door. And I was just like, what? The doctor calls me in, and it's this white woman, and she was very, very sweet. And here she is like, yeah, you have diabetes. Um, you're type 2. Here are all the medications you need to take. You need to take metformin. You need to take cholesterol pills. Like, I know your cholesterol's fine, but you should take it anyway. I walked out of that doctor's office with 6 prescriptions of pills and told that I have type 2 diabetes. And my entire world just, as you said, everything that I held on to about hopes for who I was going to become, who I wanted to be, what I wanted to do, I just knew that all of that just needed to just be placed down for a second. And that is no longer my life. And it was a really tough thing to sit with. Honestly, to walk out of that office being told I have type 2 diabetes was extremely hard for me because there were 0 follow-up questions that she had. If she had asked me anything, she would have known I was extremely active. I'm working out 5, 6 days a week. Yes, I am in my 20s. I am drinking a bit and I don't have the best diet, but I'm also pretty nutritious as well. She would have known that I lost about 30, 40 pounds within the span of like a month or two. She would have asked the questions that would have led her to an accurate diagnosis, which is me being type 1. But she took one look at my skin. It was just like type 2. Here's some pills, take that. And yeah, and it was a trip. I did not get the proper diagnosis until 2 years later. For those 2 years, I'm still taking some of the pills, metformin, that's for type 2 folks. And my sugars were like off. Um, I remember being so upset initially of being diagnosed at such a young age. But now that I'm older, I am so, so thankful that I was diagnosed at that age because my youth saved me. My A1C was 14.3.
Oh,
Had I had been
you're going to stop copying me, Braylon.
where you are,
No, mine was 14.7.
wow, that's crazy.
And I had lost about 40 pounds. I was typically
Yeah,
um like 180, and I was down when I hopped on the scale, it said 140 pounds, and I just
it's
dropped
like
like,
you're like, what happened? That's so wow. This is so cool to have this story. Oh wow.
yeah,
Oh, I thought it was unique, but here we are.
look, it was meant to be this
It
conversation.
was. It was. Oh, this is amazing.
And I
Thank
hope that if any medical professional gets a chance to play this back, to listen to this, that
Mhm.
they listen to especially the last 4 to 5 minutes of what you've been talking about. You've been telling them directly. I mean, you're speaking to me, but you're telling them directly. I'm a woman of color,
Mhm.
but I got this diagnosis. Y'all didn't tell me or give me any information on why I got this diagnosis,
Yeah.
how I received this diagnosis, nothing. Why am I taking all of these medications?
Yeah.
What testing, what
Yeah.
labs were given? None of these things.
None of it. Why
Because
were you so quick to assume that it was
mhm,
type 2? Where did that mindset stem from? Why did you why did you decide to have zero follow-up questions or any questions whatsoever? And it just made me think about how so many of us experience this in very different ways, but it all leads down the same hole of not being understood and not being cared for by the professionals who we 100% depend on to have this information and assistance with. And I knew right then and there, I needed to be my own advocate and I needed to do the work because they were not going to, you know? Um, yeah, it took 2 years for me to be on insulin. I saw an endocrinologist and she did the work and I remember that voicemail so clearly. She was just like, hey, this is your endocrinologist. I looked at your blood. I looked at your antibodies. You're not type 2. You are type 1. You need to be on insulin immediately. Come back. We're going to sign the prescription for you to get it today.
I've talked about it across this platform, and I've talked about it to medical professionals that I've worked with, that I've just had conversations with about upon diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't there resources for us, like within the community? Because this is a traumatic experience. And
Mm-hmm.
in this day and age, we know today, like our parents before us lived through a cycle of trauma where it wasn't pushed to the forefront, where a lot of those things were hidden and still are hidden today. But we are growing and developing at a time where we know that the emotional stressors and mental health are equal to the physical health. You can't have one and grow with one without the other. So
Absolutely.
I always ask, like, why aren't we gifted the opportunity when we were given this diagnosis to have just
Mm-hmm.
those specialists, that community that can come and cover us and help us in this healing journey? Because we don't know like why we have this. We don't know if there's others who have this. Like, why does it have to take five,
Mm-hmm.
10, 15, 20 years for this conversation?
You're asking the right questions, and I think we all know what the answers are. You know why there's a lack of access of resources and encouragement of taking care of ourselves, body and mind, in this community, and why there's such a disparity between people of color and non-people of color when we do actually have the means to reach out and seek professional care. um, why it's not easily given to us, and why we have to fight extra hard to receive the bare minimum. You know, I really I really want to pinpoint what you said. You mentioned a cycle of trauma that the previous generation had to go through, because it wasn't just discouraged for them to take care of themselves. They just simply didn't know that you're supposed to take care of the mind, that you are supposed to take care of your body in certain ways. They just simply did not know.
Now, I do want to know, as we do wind down, you did give a bit about your diagnosis story.
Mhm.
How long do you think that you were going through that initial process of being ahead of being diagnosed? Like when that onset began, do you recall?
Um, are you asking how long you think I may have actually had diabetes?
Yes.
I suspect, just based off of that A1C alone, it had to be a year. It had to be. I mean, 14.7 is a long time. I mean, you just kind of look at it normally, your A1C might shift like 3 points within 3 months, right? So, like, that's like the normal time. So, for example, my A1C was 7.6 in January. Today, it's 7.3. So for it to be 14.3 at some time, how long did it take for it to get that high? It had to be at least a year. I do remember feeling a lot of changes in my body, but I just assumed that it was because of just, external circumstances, moving and starting college, and, just kind of shifting my life from, being a
Stress.
child to now like a young adult. Stress, you know. I do remember like just having a lot of stress at that time. Just once again, just having that whole coming of age era where I am now an adult and I don't have the support that I feel like I need to be here. And now I'm just slammed with this lifelong, overwhelming burden of diabetes that I know absolutely nothing about, and that all of the professionals that are supposed to be here for me aren't, and it was such a tough journey to learn. I have to give credit to my partner at the time, because I underwent a serious depressive episode. I was really mourning the person I thought I was going to become, letting that life go, knowing that I was not going to be able to live the same life that my friends were living, knowing that things were not going to be easy for me again. And I just took that as a sign, like, maybe I'm not supposed to be here. And it was really him who like did the research about diabetes. And at the time we thought it was type 2. So, but he helped me like figure out like, what I could be eating, how I can shift my exercise regimen, all this stuff, and was really there for when I was properly diagnosed, and helping me with, insulin injections, and learning how to deal with lows now, because that's a new occurrence now with insulin, and then major spike ups. So it was really nice to have that support for that bit of time. But yeah, it took a while. It was a long journey getting here. It was a
Right.
long
It's a journey. And I think
journey.
I may have to put that into the title of this episode because we've mentioned that a lot. It's a journey.
It's a journey.
And
It,
and that also sounds like a single or album title.
hey,
Look. But
ideas. Hmm, the ideas.
right. So
Yeah.
the way you like when you're speaking on it, I'm thinking because many people I've spoken to who were diagnosed as adults had long honeymoon, uh, extended honeymoon periods. So
Mm,
for you to be diagnosed with the A1C at 14.3 and to not get a formal diagnosis of type 1 for 2 years, And how long was it before you actually used insulin?
I started using insulin, I think, a few days after that phone call. But up until that time, I did not use
Right.
insulin.
It was all
So
based off of.
my sugar levels were steadily 200, 300, 400. And I had no idea why. I'm like, I'm working out and I'm taking the pills that they prescribed to me. Like, I'm drinking my water. What's going on? Why? For 2 years.
Right. So
That
it
was
tells me that you did everything to help yourself stay in the present instead of
yeah.
like, because I mean, that's almost the equivalent of like someone rationing insulin, but you were
That's
taking the metformin pill that was helping with insulin resistance.
mhm.
You probably were into like some type of workout regimen, dieting, probably y'all figured out an understanding, okay, low carb will help me. And
Mhm.
it just says like tells me that you like it was almost like you did everything that people were doing pre-insulin.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah. Just kind of like living in a post-apocalyptic world where
mhm.
it doesn't exist. And as I said, I'm very, very grateful now that I received it at a useful stage of my life because I can't imagine experiencing that at 40, 50, having an A1C of 14.3 and not having access to insulin and just fully depending on working out every day, making sure I'm drinking a lot of water, low carbs, high greens, not much fruit either, because that can also spike up your sugar levels. All these little things without insulin and still having your sugar levels be steadily in the 200, 300 range. I'm so thankful that I experienced that at a young age where my body can tolerate that and still come back. And yeah, so it's been a long journey.
It's been a long journey.
It's been a long journey, but through that, once again, I mean, it was, the worst time in my life having to grapple with being a young adult and still feeling like a child in many ways, but I'm dealing with something very mature that many of the adults weren't dealing with. And for sure, no one around my age was dealing with. Everyone's, more concerned about what club they're going to tonight or finals that they have to wake up for. And I have to worry about all of that, plus much more. Having these conversations about how I can hide my insulin injections or hiding that I have a low sugar range and all these things, all dealing with life stuff that's still continuing on. And now I have to debate and argue with the healthcare professionals that are supposed to understand what I'm going through. And that has been, probably the most frustrating journey. But all of this helped me become who I am today, I'm so much more aware of how to take care of my body and how to take care of my mind. I'm so much more aware of the of the questions that we need to ask people and having the sense of compassion that there are things we may not understand, with type 1, including those who could be type 2 or deal with diseases that they may have caused. Because at the end of the day, there's still something that's beyond their control, If they had full control of what they wanted to do, they wouldn't deal with that either, you know? Having the knowledge base to have this conversation with those who went to school for 10, 12 years and being to hold my own and convince them that this is the care that I need, this is the care that this person needs, and this is why. Being able to be there who are be there for those who are experiencing this for the first time and being like, you're gonna be okay. It's gonna suck, but you're gonna be okay. I feel the healthiest and the happiest because of this. I feel strong because of this. As I did say, at times there are days where it becomes super crushing. You can kind of succumb to all of the pressure of having to do everything all the time. And sometimes you just want life to just be easy. And it isn't. Like, this is just what it is. You can feel bitter about it. You can be really sad. But I mean, it made me who I am today. And made me be able to be here for myself and for those, I do feel like the change in narrative that we need to have starts with the change of knowledge. And how does that change? It can change with conversation.
Right. Hey, Bray. So you keep reiterating something. First, you're talking about this journey and you're talking about change, and you being the singer that you are, the soulful person that you are, it brings about a song to mind. It comes to mind from one of a legendary soulful singer dating back decades. He said, it's been a long time.
Coming.
But change, yup, you know.
Oh, I know that one.
It's been a long time. Change gonna come.
Change is going to come.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Sam Cooke.
Yes.
Sam
Late
Cooke.
Brady. Thank you, Sam Cooke, for that masterpiece. Oh, that song has sat with me and pulled me through so many dark moments. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Yeah, change is going to come, and it's going to be a long, arduous road, but we are already seeing it, and it happens with dialogue, conversations like this. And yeah, it's important for us to be here for ourselves and be here for each other and have that solid foundation, because it shows those who have more agency and have the power that we also have power too. I really enjoy these conversations that I've had with doctors. And I'll be honest with you. I really stopped seeing a lot of these healthcare professionals because they were doing nothing for me. I I kept going there and they would tell me the same information. Like, drink some water and have you breathe. And your sugar always has to be within the 80 to 120 range. And if you don't do that, you'll go blind and get your foot amputated. And it's like, it sounds like you're just reading from chapter 6. I already know this information. How can you help me as my own individual person, as a Black woman living my own personal life? How can you help me and my own unique experience to receive sugar levels with 80 to 120? And at some point I was just like, I kind of have to drop y'all. I'm going to take care of it myself. I'll come to you when I need an update on my prescription. And that's how I was able to get my A1C down to 7.0, because like I'm my own nutritionist. I'm my own dietitian. I'm my own specialist. I had to do the work for myself. So when I walk in there and they want to just kind of read off the script, I'm like, no, let me tell you what actually works, because I'm doing it. It's your turn to learn. This is where the change occurs. And it can be really powerful. It can be a lot. It's a lot of responsibility, but this is
You're doing it. Like you said, Bray, like you're doing it. And we know like life has changed drastically since that diagnosis. How long have you been living with type 1 diabetes?
It'll be 11, 12 years now.
Look, that infant has grown into an adolescent. Like, it's almost like a middle schooler.
Yeah. Right. She's maturing a little bit. Still crying, but what to feed her now? Then make the cries a little quieter.
Right. And I know that living with diabetes, type 1 diabetes, insulin dependence, diabetes in general, it does stop and prevent us from doing things at time. And we
Mhm.
must take like notes of things that we want to do to make sure that we're able to reach and accomplish and attain those things. And we must
Mhm.
also let the people that surround us know that at all times I can't do what you expect of me, because
Mhm.
like it's not me stating that I don't want to, or I refuse to. It's like I can't. I literally can't, because I have to figure out, like literally, I gotta figure out how I am just going to be able to prevent this low, bring down this high, and all of the other different variables that exist.
Yeah.
So, and
Every,
there's so many different variables that go into living with type 1 diabetes that people just don't know about. And I did want to know, like, has diabetes
yeah.
affected you in relationships, significant others, friendships,
Mhm.
peers?
It has, and I think it has up until the extent that I allowed it to. So when I was initially diagnosed, there was a bit of shame that I felt, because even though logically I knew there was nothing I could have done, there's still this bit of shame of like, oh, well, I still have it. So there has to be something inherently wrong with me or off with me. And no one's going to understand. So I did kind of hide it a bit at first, from my friends, and from family and from, those that I've dated. To the point where, I'll see friends today who I used to hang out with back then. And now I don't care, like I'll be in a conversation, I'll just be like, oh, 1 second, and I'll just like whip out the pen and just like inject myself. And they're like, are you diabetic? I'm like, yeah. They're like, when? Like, when did it happen? I'm like, oh, like when I met you is when I was. It's like that long? I'm like, yeah. So yeah, in the beginning, I think I allowed it to control me because of the shame and the fear that people wouldn't be able to understand and they wouldn't be able to give me the care. But I think life kind of teaches you that you have to take care of yourself, and that's the main priority. So when you're sitting there in a social setting and your sugar is just casually at 425 and you're so scared to take insulin, like at some point you just kind of reach a stage where you're just like, this is what I need to do. I need to take care of myself. So I'm going to have to invite the weird glances and the weird questions and the weird opinions that people have because I need to take care of myself. And you kind of find that one, people are often more curious than they are judgmental. Two, you'll be able to handle the judgmental questions because you understand that that was once you and now you know better. And then you get to have a moment where you teach them. And three, it's like people care about you. And to learn that if I show who I am and I show that this is a part of who I am, it gives people the opportunity to care about me. So it's been nice being able to see a shift in my friends where they might ask, like, oh, how's it going? How are you feeling? Or like, oh, okay, you got to eat this real quick. Okay, cool. Or being on dates, it's kind of, I kind of bring it up the first date just to let you know, like, oh, hey, just a second. We're about to eat this thing. I got to like take this real quick. And we'll have a small conversation about it. And that said, it's very important for me to put out the information that this is who I am. This is how I take care of myself. And I get to give you an opportunity to show me if you can be supportive of it, if you want to be here for it or not. And I've learned that more likely than not, people tend to receive it pretty well. There are going to be people and there are going to be moments where it does get overwhelming for them. It can be really tough if we're out and about and I look at my sugar level and it's at 44 And now I had to go have a seat and I gotta go eat something and I gotta just go be by myself for a moment and stop being here with what's happening. And now you kind of feel the responsibility of sitting here with me. And it can be overwhelming for all that's involved. Um, and I give them the grace of like, you can be as involved as you wish to, but I know I can take care of myself. And and you can be here or not, no judgment. If you can't, I have to do this. And yeah, I found it to be pretty easy once I just started prioritizing that this is what I need to do, and I get to give people the opportunity to witness it or not.
Right.
So
You've leveled up.
I leveled up,
Right.
leveled
Because
up.
look, I'm when you're telling your story, I'm thinking like it's like if I were to tell someone and we're out to eat that I have an asthma attack coming on.
Hmm.
I need to I'm reaching for my inhaler. So I won't
Yeah,
go into a cardiac arrest and things like that.
yeah.
Same with insulin. I have to get this. I'm not going into DKA based on how anyone feels about
Right.
needles and whatever. Like, no, that's not an option
No,
because we remember those 14 A1Cs and we will never, ever go back to that.
never,
We remember
ever.
that being diagnosed. We will never, ever go back to that feeling because it was like, when we think back on it, like, how were we alive
How?
when we know what
How?
happened before then?
It's crazy.
Like it's crazy. And look, Bray, may I say this has been a conversation that it has been some time in the making, and I'm
Mhm.
more than grateful to be on this journey with you. Now,
Thank
I
you.
must ask, as we do wind down,
Mm.
um, today, May 2024. We know so many different things are on the horizon when they talk about cures, technic a lot technology advances, things like that. So let's say today I wake up and I'm looking around and I'm like, something feels a little off, feels a little weird. Like I'm tasting like no dehydration. I'm looking at my CGM like I've been at around 80, 85 all through the night and woke up, stepped up, brushed my teeth and everything, and I'm still at that 80 to 85. Like, and then someone gives me a call and they're like, how's your diabetes going? I'm like, it don't seem like it's working today. And they're like, my diabetes is like, it could be you, Bray. And you're like, my diabetes isn't working either. And I'm like, we check on social media and find out like everyone's diabetes is gone.
Mm.
Bray, on that
Wow.
day, we wake up and a true cure is here.
Mm.
And it's worked on the entire community. On that day, you wake up, Bray, and a true cure is here. What do you do?
That's a good question. The first thing I do is rip this desktop right out my arm. Like, goodbye. Um, that's a good question. The first thing that I'll do, um, I would probably have like a good pint of like strawberry ice cream early in the morning, just to test it out, just to see, like, can I do this? Um, it would be a beautiful day. It would be a beautiful day. I'll be able to do all of the things I'm doing right now, but without all of the 50 thoughts that come behind every action that I make. And I know it would take a long time to adjust out of that mindset. Um, but wow, what a relief. What a relief. What is your answer to that? What would you do?
So I've been asked this in the past, and that's how I
Yeah.
came about this. But before we get to what I would do, I wrote down strawberry ice cream
Yes.
because I do see a cure on the horizon,
Mm. It's
and
coming.
I'm taking down notes because I have like a whole list of things that I'm going to help. I'm going to gift people when that cure is
Mm.
here. I have some people who want slushies, some people who want big burgers with all the bread and
Yes.
ice cream and popcorns and all of these things. And I'm taking down notes because on that day, I promise I will gift this to y'all because
Oh.
I know about the burden that we have lived with.
Ooh.
But the first thing that I will do on that day, because I'm spiritually inclined, like especially
Mm.
with like my ancestors. So my great grandmother passed in 1954, and no one knew for years what she passed from until 2 years ago. Me and my younger brother looked up our through ancestry.com, like found her death certificate. And on
Yeah.
her death certificate, it reads like, well, everyone knew like she had lost a ton of weight and she was having like issues with her stomach and whatnot, and she
Mm.
was dehydrated. So she was hospitalized January 19th, 1954, and she passed February 2nd, 1954, within that 2 week period. And on her death certificate, you know what it reads? Death due to acidosis.
Wow.
Death due to acidosis. So I know that over the years, my great grandmother has been with me. She's been with me. She's helped me along this journey. Like seriously, Bray. Like seriously. I've never met her. She passed 5 years before my mother's birth, a year before her first granddaughter was born. But I know she's been with me. And
Mm.
in 2003, my grandmother, upon her diagnosis of brain cancer and going through her treatments, she was
Mm.
also diagnosed, her daughter, her youngest daughter, was also diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And,
Wow.
and she passed that
Wow.
year, September 2003. So I know on
Yes.
that day, a cure is here. I'll probably just fall to my knees and just thank God. Like, seriously, like the tears will fall, the love, the memories, like so much. And I truly embody and bring my ancestors along with me in every journey, every wake of life, everything that I do. Like I tell people, I do this for not only me, but I do this for them. I do this for our people that who didn't have the opportunity to access insulin until a decade after insulin was readily available to most people. I do this for us. I do this for, I have in-laws. My uncle Jonas was a type 1 diabetic. My uncle Al, who passed 3 years ago, was a type 1 diabetic. I don't only do this for me. I do this for us. I do this for our community. So
Wow.
on that day, I'm just going to like thank God, thank the Heavenly Fathers, thank my ancestors for backing me along this journey. Seriously,
For real, for real.
like
Wow.
I love us.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, when you say you got community, when you say you got ancestors, I mean, you may not have known them, but they know you. They know exactly what you experience, and in that, you vice versa, you know what they experience too. And for you to be able to have the voice and access and the power and the knowledge today, and to do things that have not been done before in your lineage, wow, wow, that's power. That's power. Yeah, I hope that day comes, and yeah, you fall and you cry and you thank all of them. Think all of them. Wow. I'm gonna do the same. I will do the same. I would love to look into my family history. I do wonder if there's some traces. As far as I'm concerned, there's no one in my family who's diagnosed with diabetes. You
There's
got
you.
three behind you.
I mean, there's you. There's your sister,
Yeah, we are
and
holding it down. Yeah, holding it down together.
right.
Just as,
Um, do you and your sister have both the same mother and father?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Do you know if on either side there's a history of other autoimmune disease like rheumatoid arthritis, celiac, Hashimoto's, which is hypothyroidism, autoimmune, um,
Yeah,
uh, different types of irritable bowel disease, like
yeah. So yeah, there is a present trace of autoimmune diseases that I do see on both of the sides. You know, my father's basis at lupus. Um, so does my mother. So
it's
so
on
I'm
both sides.
assuming, yeah. So I'm assuming that that autoimmune disease got altered a bit, and it presented itself as type 1 diabetes for me and my older sister. Um, yeah, that yeah, it's a tricky thing.
Right.
That's the only thing I can think of as to why I was diagnosed and she was diagnosed. It's like, yeah, I guess because of this hereditary trait
Mhm.
that looks like type 1 diabetes it does, but might look like something else for someone else, as it does for my mother and my aunt. So yeah, there is that. Um, but that's it though. That's all I know. But I guess that's enough. You know, that's enough DNA for it.
Right. And my last thought I want to leave with you, Bree, is or a question I want to ask for you is through this journey, even along this conversation I've had with you, um, I can sense and like I know that you are someone in the community that people need to know because you're going to tell it how it is. Not only do you have the backing of your own lived experience, but you also are educated in the different nuances that are type 1 diabetes and chronic health conditions, such as myself. And I ask, what's some good advice? Like if someone's diagnosed today, a 20-year-old Bray is diagnosed today, what is some advice you would give to 20-year-old Bray today?
Good question. One, thank you for sharing it. Um, I would probably say to her, take your time, be patient, feel what you're feeling. Don't suppress it, don't deny it, don't run away from it. What comes up for you is valid. This is a life-changing thing. And because it is of some sort an invisible disease, um, you are going to feel alone. You are going to feel misunderstood. You are going to feel very, very different from everyone and everything that you resonated with and related to. This is a completely new life that you're stepping into. Be patient with yourself as you go through this new journey of becoming a new person. And with that, also realize you are more capable of everything that you can give yourself credit for. You know, I do remember being diagnosed and just feeling like I'm not going to be able to do anything now. You know, as I said, I was really into sports. I just assumed that I was going to be limited. Um, I still like to enjoy my time, so I just thought that drinking and eating sweets and having a good time with people my age was out the window, and that is just it's just so not the case. It's like, no, you will have your obstacles. There will be a bit of limitations, but you will still be able to do much more than you give yourself credit for. You know, these days I'm running half marathons. I'm running races where It consists of 9 miles and 27 obstacles. We have to climb walls and pull things and do pull-ups and climb and crawl. There was a time where I didn't think I was going to be able to do that. There was a time where I didn't think I was going to be able to stand up for myself and speak on the same level of professionals who, you kind of revere in some way. We kind of place this interest in like tier of like hierarchy in a sense. And with the knowledge that you gain, with the tenacity that you start to build, you remove that hierarchy and you're like, we're here. I have just as much knowledge as you do in a different sense, and we get to merge them together and find a more accurate picture of what this actually is. There was a time I didn't see any of that. It was just hopeless, a hopeless, desolate time. And it's like, you are much more capable than you give yourself credit for. And that's okay. You will learn along the way. Just be patient. Be patient as you move through this new journey, because that is what it is. Be easy, be kind to yourself, be compassionate. Whatever you feel, do it. Do it. And when it's out of your system, move on and do better and be better. Just recognize where you are, know that it's valid, sit with it, and then figure out what you can do next. And that's probably what I would share.
Bray, on that note, I truly appreciate you, and I thank you for joining me on the journey that is the Chronically Well podcast, where we hold real conversations with community that need to be heard. Braylynn, you are someone that needs to be heard.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me here, for me to share my story, and for me to hear yours as well. This is really, really amazing, beautiful work. I honestly appreciate you. So thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you.